I have some apprehensions regarding my father's partner, Kathy. Since my mother's passing in 2019, my dad has been grappling with loneliness and the desire to find companionship, leading him to consider settling down with someone, including Kathy. Despite my attempts to caution him, my words fall on deaf ears. Recently, I've observed unsettling behavior exhibited by Kathy within our home, and this has deeply unsettled me. Allow me to recount the situation from the beginning. Within our family, I have two siblings, my younger brother Jake, aged 10, and my 2-year-old brother Scotty. The moment my father introduced Kathy to us, a sense of unease washed over me. There was something disconcerting about the way she offered her overly broad smile. Gradually, my dad began bringing her around more frequently, but my feelings towards her never transformed into affection. Initially, it was her demeanor that gave me pause, but then incidents started occurring. Kathy has been residing with us for an extended period now. Several weeks ago, during my father's absence, I discovered her in his closet. This closet houses his safe, complete with its combination and other valuable items. Upon noticing me at the doorway, she greeted me with an unsettlingly eerie smile and casually inquired, "Hello, sweetie, what's going on?" I chose not to respond and simply walked away, heading to my room. I reported the incident to my dad, yet he appeared unfazed by it. A few days later, with my dad once again occupied at work, I returned from school to find Kathy exiting my younger brother Jake's room and quietly closing the door behind her. I confronted her, questioning her presence in his room. Her reply came with that same smile. "I was just opening the window. The house felt warm." I refrained from responding, retreating to my room instead. As soon as I heard her descending the stairs, I surreptitiously checked Jake's room to find both windows securely shut. There was definitely something amiss with this woman, and my instincts were not wrong. I approached my dad once more, only to be met with his plea for patience and understanding of the situation, acknowledging my aversion to Kathy. Skipping ahead to 2 days ago, when my father, Jake, and I were all out, leaving Kathy responsible for Scotty. I opted to return home unexpectedly, hoping to catch her in any dubious act once again. Silently, I entered the house and proceeded to my room. From downstairs, I could hear Scotty crying, but it was a distressing cry, distinct from any I had heard before. Then Kathy's voice pierced the air, her yelling commanding Scotty to stop. It marked the first time I witnessed her losing control, revealing a side of her that was concealed until now. I dashed downstairs to shield my brother, directly confronting Kathy and demanding that she cease her actions. Surprised by my sudden appearance, her usual eerie smile was absent. Instead, she stared at me blankly, then retreated downstairs, closing the door. Swiftly, I called my dad, detailing the event to him. That evening, he spoke with Kathy about the incident, although I can't ascertain the outcome. Going by my persistent unease, I presume it wasn't a fruitful conversation. Later that night, I awoke to a sound in my room. Upon glancing up, I spotted someone swiftly leaving, shutting the door behind them. I left my bed, opened my door, and caught sight of my father's bedroom door closing as well. Overwhelmed with fear, I approached my dad's room, entered, and found Kathy and my dad lying in bed. I woke my father with anger, recounting that Kathy had just been in my room. She denied the allegations, insisting she had been in bed the entire time. Uncertain if my dad believed me, he instructed me to return to my room while he dealt with Kathy. I complied, shutting the door behind me, but the fear persisted. Even now, I remain afraid. I am resolute in my desire to see Kathy removed from our home and lives, as I genuinely believe she poses a threat. Why was she in my room? It's a deeply unsettling thought. My concern for my family's well-being is paramount, yet I'm uncertain about the steps we should take. Several years ago, when I was in my 30s, an unsettling incident occurred at my condominium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The condo, which I still own, is situated on the second floor of a respectable building that I'd rather not disclose for privacy reasons. Typically, I make visits during the colder months up north, taking advantage of the remote work setup to enjoy the beach through my laptop and phone. Fort Lauderdale is widely regarded as a clean and safe city, and the neighborhood where my building stands is no exception. On a winter night in January, I found myself out on my condo's balcony, legs hanging over the railing as I worked on my laptop. Unexpectedly, I heard a voice shouting from below. The person was calling out with phrases like "hey" and "yo" initially. I assumed their words were meant for someone else and paid little attention. However, when they persistently addressed me with "hey, you out there," my heart raced, realizing they were directing their words at me. This piqued my curiosity about their intentions. Putting my laptop aside, I leaned over the balcony to see a man standing in the parking lot, next to a car, looking up at me. He confirmed that he was indeed trying to get my attention, prompting me to inquire about the reason for his calling out. He requested that I come down to witness something interesting. Studying him more closely, I noticed his backward cap and tank top, leading me to believe he might be a mischievous youngster attempting to play a prank on me. Consequently, I opted to disregard his invitation and return to my seat. As I resumed my work, his laughter reached my ears, accompanied by a chilling threat. "I'm going to come up there and teach you a lesson, you jerk." This caught me off guard, causing me to stand up and lock eyes with him. His unsettling grin sent shivers down my spine. It dawned on me that he was older than my initial assessment. Though I felt an urge to retort, I inexplicably decided against engaging with him. Instead, I gathered my laptop, retreated indoors, and closed the sliding door behind me. Although I half expected him to continue his verbal assault, the silence that followed was reassuring. Despite my unease, being inside provided a sense of security. I dismissed the encounter as a run-in with an occasional individual under the influence, wandering the Florida streets in a disoriented state. However, the situation escalated when the tranquility of my room was shattered by forceful pounding on my condo door, accompanied by a barrage of profanities and threats. It was the same man. The pounding was so forceful that I genuinely feared the door would give way. All I could manage was to shout that I was dialing the police. Yet, his determination remained unshaken. The pounding transitioned into unsettling scraping and stabbing sounds. Although the entire ordeal lasted no more than a couple of minutes, it felt like an eternity until he delivered one last furious blow, unleashed another stream of obscenities, and eventually departed. I confirmed his departure by peering through the door's peephole. In the aftermath of this distressing event, I wasted no time in contacting the police to report the incident. I presented the stab marks on my door as evidence of his attempted break-in. I prayed that no harm had come to anyone that night. It seemed unlikely that he knew me. Rather, he appeared to be a heavily intoxicated and disturbed individual with a sinister agenda. One of the most perplexing incidents I've ever come across happened in my life. I was in my room upstairs, deeply engrossed in writing a history paper. I believed I was alone at home, but that belief was soon shattered when I distinctly heard my mother's voice calling my name from downstairs. I answered, but there was no response. It irked me a bit because I was immersed in my paper and didn't want any interruptions. Nevertheless, I reluctantly abandoned my room and descended the stairs to find out what she needed. Upon reaching the ground floor, I scoured the area for my mom, yet she was nowhere to be seen. I called out to her once more, and she replied, her voice originating from the basement. Oddly, the basement was in darkness. I called out again, questioning why she was down there without lights, but she remained silent. Switching on the lights, I descended the stairs. As I approached the last step, my mom called my name again, her tone and pitch eerily identical each time. In frustration, I exclaimed, "Mom," once more, and she echoed my name, though she was nowhere to be found. It was then that I noticed the slightly ajar door to the crawl space closet. I referred to it as such because it was a peculiar closet that required crawling to enter, yet it occupied a significant portion of the basement. It was the only possible location for my mom, so I called out to her a final time. Silence. I hesitated, then edged closer to the closet door. Kneeling down, I peered into the pitch-black interior, a growing sense of unease washing over me. I inquired, "Mom, is this some sort of prank?" No answer, just the faint hum of the basement light. With my discomfort escalating, I abruptly stood up and, driven by an inexplicable urge, rushed back upstairs, slamming and locking the basement door behind me. I was utterly confounded by what I had witnessed and heard. Acting on impulse, I grabbed the house phone and dialed my mom's cell number. It rang repeatedly until she finally picked up, informing me that she was out grocery shopping. I recounted my bewildering experience, but understandably, she brushed it off as a joke. It took a persistent half-hour of pleading for her to take me seriously. When my parents returned home, we ventured into the basement together. The closet door remained open. My dad stepped inside, but the closet was empty. Even now, that chilling and enigmatic encounter stands as the most haunting memory of my life. Throughout my existence, I've confronted an array of night terrors and engaged in battles with various sleep disturbances. I've lost track of the instances in which I've weathered the bone-chilling phenomenon of sleep paralysis. It's genuinely unsettling. Countless times, I've awakened to the sight of spiders and other massive insects in my bed, only for them to evaporate as consciousness returns. These hallucinations consistently possess an uncannily authentic and vivid quality. In my panic, I frequently catapult myself out of bed, shrieking, and flinging pillows at these non-existent entities. And as for the ceaseless nightmares, don't even get me started. There was a notably taxing week during my schooling days when I found myself submerged beneath an avalanche of homework from all my classes. Both mentally and physically drained, I reached an unparalleled level of exhaustion. With half of my assignments due the ensuing day, coincidentally a Friday, I found myself burning the midnight oil in a bid to complete everything. It was likely around 3 a.m. when I ultimately wrapped up my tasks. Collapsing onto my bed, I swiftly slipped into a profound slumber, scarcely remembering the journey. Yet that night marked the resurgence of unsettling dreams. Attempting to depict the surreal dream that unfolded that night is a daunting task. I was ensnared within a linear edifice, struggling desperately to flee. Every room I entered contained an array of candies, akin to a haunted Halloween exhibit. However, within the dream, I was relentlessly pursued by an enigmatic presence, toying with me through the laughter of a child that appeared to reverberate from all angles. The trigger for my abrupt awakening was reaching what seemed to be the final door of the structure. The laughter escalated, piercing my awareness. As the door swung open, I found myself back in my bed, immobilized by sleep paralysis once more. Subsequently, from the heart of the room, laughter emanated. I strained to focus my gaze on the center, where 4 figures materialized. A semblance of a familial unit, tall male and female forms accompanied by a young boy and girl. Linked hand in hand, their visages stretched into impossibly wide grins. The familiar sensation of chest constriction, a prevalent sleep paralysis symptom, engulfed me, while an impression formed that they were expanding or drawing closer, almost as if they were gliding toward me. When my body eventually responded, I cast away the bed covers, hurled my pillows across the room, and emitted a piercing scream. Yet, where the quartet of figures had stood, only vacant space remained, and the eerie laughter had faded. It marked an unparalleled hallucination, even for someone accustomed to experiencing sleep paralysis on multiple occasions. The subsequent day, I sought medical aid and consulted my physician, who recommended a fresh medication regimen. Since then, I've continued to endure my fair share of night terrors, although none have approximated the intensity of that haunting incident.